Hello everybody and welcome to a spoiler roundup here for the core set 2026. We're going to be talking about Joe Diamond, the private investigator, as well as some other cards that were spoiled in this time, but we just got the announcement article of Joe. We now know his front side and his back side, and then we're going to have a bunch of other cards to talk about. This is the spoiler roundup in case you have not seen them otherwise and you want to keep on top of what cards are coming out in the core set, as well as getting some tentative opinions on how these cards factor into the game going forward. I think one thing I have to stress when we're analyzing these cards is that I am treating them like a core set. So I'm treating them with the fact that this is going to be the foundation that these cards are going to be built off of, like, going forward. So this is what the Seeker identity is. And I ultimately do think that I ultimately do think that this is actually a much better foundation for the Seeker class that is less problematic compared to the Seeker that we had in the original core. So I think that is really, really nice. You like Beard's hard-boiled and soft-boiled? I mean, that is a cute nickname, but I think unfortunately for players it doesn't actually tell you what it does, right? And I think I always lead to the kind of thing where I'd rather players know. Why? Because when someone says core Joe, oh, I know what that means. That's the Joe in the core set, you know? My ADHD brain sees Joe as backwards rolling. Think it'd be cool if our Mystic was a new Luke. Purple, yellow instead of yellow, purple. That would be cool. All right, so let's read this article, and then we're going to look at the cards that were spoiled in this last little bit here. All right, Joe Diamond has more experience with supernatural nonsense than most. He has developed a keen intuition and a knack for getting to the bottom of even the most uncanny occurrences, helped in no small part by his willingness to get his hands dirty. But in recent weeks, even Joe has been hard-pressed to stay on top of his work. His desk is flooded with photos of grisly murders and reports of disappearances, people from all walks of life vanishing without a trace. Joe isn't sure how each of these events is connected, but he's not about to let the case go cold. Joe Diamond, the private investigator, 2442, so same stat line as the original Joe. As a reaction, after you successfully investigate, draw one card, limit once per round. Elder Sign effect is +1. If you succeed, draw one card and gain one resource. Soaks for 7 and 7. So, obviously, this ability is very, very bare bones, right? Like, this is like the most basic ability that you could muster on a card, pretty much, right? Like, this is literally, I could not imagine something simpler. Well, I could, and it already exists, right? Like, I think that this Joe Diamond lives in a very similar place to Zoe Samaras. If you don't know what Zoe's ability is that when she engages an enemy, she gets to gain a resource, right? It's one of those things that it's just like, it's here to provide a good place to build from and then design the character from it. Obviously, this was the intention of the core set, right? The idea is the fact that this is just something that you can put out there. It's very similar to Harvey Walters from the starter decks when he came out. So like that's kind of the a very similar spot for it. Javier Altman, thank you for 12 months at the Golden Table. I think that I understand why people are disappointed in this Joe Diamond, mostly because the original Joe Diamond is a very evocative character design, right? It tells such a compelling story, and it's so unique to Joe Diamond that I understand that this feels like a downgrade. I don't really view it as a downgrade because they're different cards in my mind, right? So, like, while I can relate to it, I don't exactly, like, line up with it fully, but I totally, like, understand the sentiment for it. But I think that this is a really good thing for, like, a core set style of investigator, right? I think that it's not exciting, but it's going to let you do exciting things, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Right? Because it's one of those things where it showcases that, hey, Seekers are here to draw cards, but Joe Diamond is going to be able to use that card draw to grab Guardian cards to flex with, right? And that's something that he'll be able to do very well because he still has that traditional Joe Diamond stat line. And it's like how Zoe Samaras, right? Like her ability, I mean, I know for a fact that if Zoe Samaras was released today, there would be people saying her ability is not flavorful and it's not exciting. Like, I know that for a fact, right? And the reality is that Zoe's ability is not flavorful and it's not exciting, but I think it's a very good place to build off of. There's a lot of variety that you have found in Zoe Samaras decks, and a big reason for that is because her ability provides her with the consistency to do those fun and exciting things. And I ultimately think that Joe Diamond is going to live in a similar place. He has a very boring ability, but he gives you an 05 Seeker, 02 Guardian card pool, which I can show on the back here. So he's Seeker 05, Guardian 02, to completely play with how you want to play with, right? And his ability, yes, it's not as focused as the original Joe Diamond. I mean, releasing that in a core set would be like design suicide. I think we can all agree on that, right? And I understand him being more exciting would be more fun, but I do ultimately think that this is going to let you play more cool stuff, right? This is like what Travis always talks about, where if you're gonna play like a janky idea, if you're gonna play something that's a little bit silly, you want your foundation to be very good. And I think that this is a way to let you do that stuff and let you have fun with Joe Diamond and doing that. And if you haven't been able to chance to play regular Joe Diamond, like Circle Undone Joe Diamond, you should check it out. You can do so on Tabletop Simulator and have a great time doing it. And I think, once again, I'm not really Vorthos, so like I'm not really like married to the identity that this is what Joe Diamond is. But I do respect the people that might think that it's like dull. And I don't disagree. It's a very dull ability, but sometimes dull is good for investigators. And I think in the scope of this core set, I think Joe Diamond is in a really healthy place for that. We should look at his signatures as well. What is a Vorthos concept? So there are, we always talk about Timmy's, Johnny's, and Spike's on this channel. There's actually two more. Vorthos and Melvin, right? More Vorthos is kind of, they care about the lore. The lore really resonates with them. And Melvin is more like the symmetry of the card, if that makes sense. Like Melvin goes beyond like the function of the card's ability in the gameplay, but rather how the card is and how the card exists. I'm pretty sure that's how it is. I'm not too specific on the Melvin one, but I'm pretty sure that's what the idea is. It's like if the card makes sense. I would say, like, if that is what the design of Melvin is, I'm probably like Spike Melvin. But I think that, like, I can understand, like, the lore heads, as we call them, not really digging the design here. Especially also, like, this is like the anti-lore, anti-Johnny card, right? And I think that that's I think it all makes sense. I think the reaction that I saw people having to Joe Diamond is totally fair. I think it's all fair and reasonable. But I do have faith that there's going to be good discoveries you can make with Joe Diamond because the ability is so good. And because, again, he has Guardian 02, this is going to help negate some of the downside of the Guardian class, which is that they need more... time to set up and time to draw, and Joe can use that with his secret thing to make that better. And then my main problem is that Joe's design was clearly flex, and the new ability only mentions investigate. I think it's a good design, just does not feel like a Joe Diamond. But the question is, what is Joe Diamond? That's like the question that goes deeper than even just this conversation right now, right? Because ultimately everybody will have a different answer for what is Joe Diamond. So I think that that's not really a fair statement to make, you know? To me, Joe Diamond is he has four fist and 4 book. To me, that is Joe Diamond. And that is what this Joe Diamond has. So for me, this is Joe Diamond, right? So, like, that's one of the things where, like, I understand why you're saying it, but I don't necessarily personally agree with it, if that makes sense. I don't think you're wrong. Like, I don't think you're wrong at all, but I don't really relate to that thought process. All right, back in October, which feels like months ago at this point, we revealed the new core set for Arkham, the card game, which heralds the beginning of an era we're referring to as Chapter 2. With the new core set comes this new set of 5 core sets investigators, and one of the 5 is Joe Diamond. Returning to the scene as the new core's secret investigator, Joe puts his extensive experience as a private eye to use in solving mysteries and hunting down clues. While the original version of Joe has a secondary hunch deck that represented his keen insights, this more seasoned version of Joe focuses on straightforward investigating and drawing lots of cards. Both of the inherent abilities on his investigator card give you an extra draw when they trigger, ensuring that you always have tools you need to keep the investigation going. I do also wonder if they painted this where it's like, this new straightforward Joe focuses on straightforward investigating and using that to his advantage. Whenever he investigates, he gets a new hunch, which he's allowed to keep the game going. It's how you paint the picture. They can really determine things as well. One such tool is Joe's signature event card, Detective's Intuition. It's Seeker. It's Seeker class. So I knew this was coming because there were some spoilers of the box set that we saw that Daniela's signature was Guardian class. And I actually think that classifying, like, the signatures is a lot cooler. I just wish it didn't say Joe Diamond deck only, but that's my own personal beef. All right, zero cost event commits for a brain, a book, and a wild. It's an insight. Hey, you remember when he used to care about those? Gain 2 resources and heal 1 damage or 1 horror. As a reaction, after you draw Detective's Intuition during your turn, reveal it and draw 2 additional cards. That's a pretty good signature. I think, again, it's a pretty plain signature, but I think that Joe's ability is, again, inherently pretty plain, right? It is a very, just like gain 2 and heal 1 is a very nice effect for it. You really want to hit this on the draw 2 additional cards. You really want to be able to force when that happens. I think it's a cool card, though. I think it's a cool signature. Yeah, and it does scale with the game Volt Gloss. You're 100% on that, right? Really nice. So one thing I also enjoyed, this is actually something I think it was Pack said in the PBG Discord, is that there's this nice thing that I see the designers doing, and it's actually something that like Beard and I were poking at with some of our ideas as well, which is the fact that sometimes you can just get extra value on it, and you can either kind of like hope that value happens naturally, or you can trigger effects. I can find it, that lets you have more consistency in finding that value, which I think is really, really cool. All right, if you manage to draw this versatile card during your turn, such as through the use of Joe's inherent abilities, then you can draw 2 additional cards on top of it, giving you even more assets and events to work with. The rest of Detective's Intuition is also nothing to sneeze at, with 3 handy skill icons and the ability to grant some extra resources on top of a bit of healing. Wait, the spoilers on Arkham Build? Oh, yeah. God works fast, but Arkham Build works faster. All right, we're going to talk about this later in the video. I'm going to hold my tongue for Laboratory Assistant. Joe's Intuition isn't the only source of extra cards in his kit. His pre-built deck comes with some other handy ways of netting you some additional draws, such as the ever-useful Laboratory Assistant, who not only draws you 2 cards when you play her, but also increases your hand size by 2, which certainly helps with all the extra cards you're drawing. There's also the new event card Gather Intel, which can be played in response to an enemy approaching, and potentially nab you the perfect tool to deal with it or not deal with it, if you'd rather just slip through the cracks and avoid the monster altogether. So we're going to talk about slip through the cracks later. We've already talked about Gather Intel. This Joe deck is going to have some crazy draw right off the bat. That's kind of nutty. In like a good way. Of course, as a seeker, Joe's primary role in the game is investigating locations and discovering clues. Classic cards like Magnifying Glass and new cards like Local Map are useful staples in any seeker's deck, and they're especially handy with Joe thanks to his ability to draw a card after he successfully investigates. To get even more bang for your investigating buck, call on Dorothy Simmons for a boost to your intellect. and a potential bonus resource after successful investigation. You can then use that resource to pay for the ability on Sharp Rhetoric, giving you an impressive boost to your next investigation. And if you use a fingerprint kit in tandem with a bit of a deduction, deduction's back, baby! Also, did you guys notice the new core frame? The new skill frame? They just open it up over here. I don't know. I'm down for it, I guess. I have no beef with it, but it's gonna be weird to get used to. Continue whopping 3 clues at once. When you run out of actions, you can rely on working a hunch, so working a hunch is back as well. To squeeze one more clue out of your turn before it ends. By now, you got a good grasp of the secret cards in the Joe's pre-built deck. However, longtime fans of Arkham Horror, the card game, recall the previous version of Joe Diamond could also include guarding cards in his deck. Well, we don't have any guarding cards to show you today. Rest assured that this new Joe can still splash some of the class in this deck. He is a hard-boiled detective after all. Yeah, it's a fun. I think the new frame's interesting. Again, when I was younger in my life, I would always get mad when things like this changed because I'd be like, I have to get used to it. But I'll get used to it in like a month, and then I'll like be totally fine with it. I think it does. It's a nice little thing for it. I think it's okay. I think it looks all right. I think it'll look nicer when it's in your hand. That's the big thing. Like none of the cards, like they don't ever really look great when you're looking at them just in like digitally, you know. Also, yeah, it also does justify the text nicer, Volkloss. That is actually a very apt observation. If you don't know what that means, chat, it means like it's actually not going to have this weird like because it used to like spin on the side, right? Now it's actually just like neat like that. That's a good shout. But yeah, so what's really big here is that the core Seeker pool is actually like really good. And it's not going to be like a deck you play when you have to also play like Barricade and medical texts in your starting deck. I think that this Seeker base is really good, and you're actually going to get a usable deck out of the core set. All right, of course, no detective is without his flaws, and Joe Diamond is no exception. For every strength, there must be a weakness, and Joe's signature weakness is dead ends, a blunder that can easily come up during a game thanks to Joe's excessive amount of card draw. While you're hitting a dead end may not harm you in the short term, where it really hurts when the scenario concludes. Okay, calm down, I want to read the card. A 5-cost blunder weakness event, forced. When you search your deck and dead ends is among the search cards, draw it, cancel the effects of the search, and shuffle your deck. So it's kind of like Mandy's signature. And then we have forced. When the game ends or you are eliminated, if this card is in your hand, you earn 2 fewer experience. This picture pretty much sums up the Arkham Reddit this week, I feel. That's very funny. That is a very funny statement. All right, let's hydrate while we think on this card. It does have a very similar feeling, yeah, Volkloss, of the original Unsolved Case. Yeah, and I think Dice God's right. You need to plan for it. It's rough, but $5 is a lot of money, but you just have to time it. It's delve timing. And then, like, if you're about to die, drop it, and then, like, control your cycling, or you could even, like, after you cycle, you know you're not going to get through your deck one more time. You can just drop it there. I think it's annoying, just like how it's functionally ignorable, especially towards the end of the campaign. I'll tell you one thing, Marinda. I think I agree with you, but I also play with a lot of people that don't want to lose 2 experience, even in Scenario 7. So I think that this is going to affect more people than you think late in the campaign. But for you and I agree. I probably would just ignore this in the later scenarios. Kind of boring that it can just sit in your hand until the last turn and do nothing. Well, it can't really do nothing if it's sitting in your hand, right? That is one less card you have in your hand size that is actually impacting the game in a positive way, which is kind of what you want to be doing when you're going to be drawing a bunch of cards, right? So like if this is in your hand, you're effectively, if you're overdrawing, you're discarding a card each turn as well, right? It's taking up a slot in your hand if you do choose to ignore it, which is kind of the counter to the excessive card draw that he wants to be doing here. So it's also going to work against you in that way. You may not feel it immediately when you are like discarding those cards, but if you look back, this card can cause you to discard 5 to 6 cards if you leave it in your hand for the course of the scenario. It is true, yeah. But you still get a card out of your deck. It cancels the search. Well, it doesn't cancel. You don't get anything out of it. It costs you an activation on the search effect, right? It totally costs you something. If you're using this, it's going to cost you what? 1, 2 secrets, depending on how dig you deep, right? I don't think it's definitely not on the level of Agnes's Dark Memory, which I think is like one of the examples I think of like a really well done painful weakness that you can kind of play against. But I don't think it's like, I think it's going to be more annoying. It's going to remind me a lot of Preston's, right? Like Preston's is very, very similar. But I think that it's going to be pretty manageable once the meta settles, you know? Yeah, that's actually a thing too, right? They did say that they want Guardian to be more about setting up, and maybe Guardian has like some more search effects to kind of help them set up more consistently, but they're going to take more time to do so, right? That would be cool to see, if that also then makes the Guardian side a little bit worse as well. All right. So also as well, with his ability to draw extra cards, determination to solve the unsolvable, Joe Diamond is a terrific example of what the Seeker class has to offer. However, look forward to our previews of Survivor class in the coming weeks. There might be some Survivor cards coming to you from playing board games next week. So keep your eyes open to our channel to see when those cards are going live, because let me tell you, they're pretty neat. They're pretty neat. All right. I think I'm going to talk about Joe Diamond for 21 minutes. Why don't we start talking about the other cards that were spoiled in this time? So I'm going to just go through these in the order that we have here for how they were spoiled. Oh yeah, no, so actually 1 second. You remind me, Kunkas. I want to talk about Joe Diamond's Elder Sign. The Elder Sign effect +1 if you succeed, draw 1 card and gain 1 resource. Basically, the Elder Sign reads, you get an upkeep phase. I think what this is also going to tell me as a player and as someone who thinks a little bit too deeply about numbers and stuff like that is that we're going to see Rotting Remains style 3s be pretty common for these effects, because the idea is that this Elder Sign is going to help you beat those cards and then give you card drawn resource. All right, first one we have here, give me just the secret cards, please. And I would like to look at Unbridled Knowledge to start this off. Unbridled Knowledge, this is a one, okay, before anyone in the comments ask as well, this is Arkham.build. You should go use it. It's a great way for building your decks, and it works really well. So you should go check that out. All right. Unbridled Knowledge. 1 cost, 5 experience. Reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, 8 cards instead if you control 2 or more clues. Draw 3 of them and place the rest of those cards on the top and or bottom of your deck in any order. Can we be real that this... at first I was like, oh, it's crazy that this isn't a search effect, right? But now once I see Joe Diamond's signature weakness, I was like, that's why it's not a search effect. That's why it's reveal. Because they probably play tested this and they were like, ooh, that feels bad. That feels rough. I think that this is a really good top end. It's very similar but different than Cryptic Research, the card that we have in, is it called Cryptic Research? The one that's the fast one that draws 3 from an investigator at your location. It removes the fast, but you get to have more card selection, which kind of balances out a bit. It does cost 1 more experience, but I think Cryptic Research probably could have been still playable at 5. I think it was still very playable at 4. It's a great card. But I think that this is a nice top end for the Seeker class. What I also really enjoy about it is that it fits very nicely with like this Seeker thing that they have, which is like this incredible card selection. And I also like that it scales with the number of clues you have, right? And I think that that's really, really, really neat. It's a very cool card. I think it's a very powerful card. And I think it's a card that I'll probably tap into in a lot of my decks, even beyond just limited collections, right? I think that that's going to be a very nice one. I understand that a lot of people don't like the new art, and ultimately I kind of agree. The new art is a little bit poopy in places. I do think that this is actually a very nice piece of art. I think the colors are really good, and I think that the lighting is better than some of the other ones, because I think that's my big beef with some of the stuff we have here is the lighting is too bright. This one kind of feels more like a rainy day, which I think is the vibe's really nice. But I'm not going to say for a second I don't think some of the art's a little bit poopy. We're going to be talking about that later in this video as well. It's unavoidable, okay? It's unavoidable. Incredible card, though. And incredible piece. I like this one as a card. It's a very nice thing. All right, next one we got here is Laboratory Assistant. She's back, but she is different. This is not her. Show me this one. All right. 2 cost. Commits for a brain symbol as opposed to a book symbol. Your maximum hand size is increased by 2. As a reaction, if you play a Laboratory Assistant, draw 2 cards. 1 damage, 2 horror soaked, and takes up the ally slot. For comparison, the original one was after it enters play. So this one is now after you play it. So this is strange. I'll give you some context if you don't know what these are considered to be like, I don't really know the word for it. There BK, 7 months of the Golden Table. Thank you for your support. It's kind of, the name that they call it slipped my mind. I'm sure someone in chat will tell me for it. They had like a term that they were using it internally. But the idea is that this is an alternate version of the card that is going to be the one that is played in this current format, right? Like this is the one that's currently legal. Old Laboratory Assistant is going to rotate out and no longer be legal. However, if you are playing in a version where they are both available, you can choose which one that you want to play. It's a little bit of a strange thing. It's very different. Yeah, modified reprint. That's what they're calling it. It's a reprint that has been changed in a way that is, I don't really know how to put it. This thing, it's very strange. This is like new for me as a card gamer. I haven't really had a game where something like this has happened, you know? Because normally when something like this happens, all versions of the card they're all changed. But this one, the original is still kind of a thing, and this new version is still like kind of a thing. So are the starter decks no longer legal? We don't know actual confirmation, but there are rumors that, there's rumors that we're going to get new starter decks, and there also is a statement that the starter decks are going out of print. So I think it's a safe assumption that the starter decks are no longer going to be legal in current. Also, Phobeard, thanks for the sub. I much appreciate that. Welcome to the Golden Table. So it's one of those things that when you play it, you have to play the version that is legal in your format, and if all the versions are legal in your format, you can choose which version is a table to play. But you cannot mix and match. I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know. It's very strange, right? I don't really know how this this is going to work going forward. And I'm going to kind of just tentatively watch it to see if I actually like think it's worth it, or if it's just like some strange complexity that comes with it. I think that we don't really know why this after you play was changed from after it enters play, because it seems like a nerf, right? But I'm curious to see the reason for it, right? Like maybe that there's going to be some more kind of ally synergy that comes with it. And they had to make a change because of that. And this is like some design stuff we're not going to see until down the road. But I think ultimately what they want to do is they wanted to avoid having... they didn't want to have players to be able to play 4 copies of this lab assistant style effect. Because in Magic the Gathering, for example, you have a lot of cards that do thing, right? You'll have a lot of these cards that say counter target spell, right? And in Magic the Gathering, they usually just reprint them, or they do modified versions that you can add to it, and you can end up with like 16 counter spells in your deck, right? In Arkham, the deck size is a lot smaller, and I think they want to just avoid having the ability for a player to have 4 lab assistant style effects in their deck, which I think is fair, but I don't know how I feel about this method with it going forward, because we don't really know why. Right, like we don't really know why this is happening. So I think my thought process on this one is that I'm happy Laboratory Assistant is here. I think that Lab Assistant is actually going to be stronger than Dorothy Simmons going forward. And I think that's like a better place for the game to be, which is kind of funny to say, but I do think that Laboratory Assistant is going to be stronger than Dorothy Simmons. But I don't know why it's been changed, and we're gonna have to find out why, right? Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think it's I don't think right now it's a big deal because the changes are pretty minor. But I just have to see why this is happening, right? Just things that they still try to design for Legacy with that. I don't think they do, right? I mean, I guess the idea of the 4 laboratory assistants, I think that's a fair statement, but I mean, I think that's like an easy thing that doesn't require more balance. It's just like, here's the same, right? Yeah, there's, I mean, there was a Reddit thread that was a little bit over dramatic that I was reading last night about like, yeah, you could just put subtitles on them, but at the same time, like, without the subtitles, it's still like fine. Like, I think it's just like one of the things that I'm just like, yeah, okay, it's here. It's okay. It's all right. I just want to know why. Like, why is this change happen? What is the reason for the wording change? That's what I'm more curious about to see in the long term. Because I'm not too bothered by it. I just don't get it, if that makes sense. All right, let's look at Through the Cracks. We have a level 0 version, and a level 2 version. So, Through the Cracks, 3-cost event, evade with your foot. You get +1 foot for this evasion for each clue you control to a maximum of +3. If you succeed, you may disengage from each enemy engaged with you and move to a revealed connecting location. The upgraded version is a 2-cost, 2 experience. Evade, you get +2 foot for this evasion for each clue you control to a maximum of +6. If you succeed, you may disengage from each enemy engaged with you and move to a revealed connecting location. The revealed connecting location is actually, I think, going to be pretty problematic for these cards. The being able to move to an unrevealed location is something you don't realize how often you do when you want to have a card that moves you. And I think that that's going to be a little bit more of a sticking point. One thing I do like is that this is obviously signposting a very similar spot to I've Got a Plan. The original card from Dunwich Legacy for Seekers that dealt a lot of damage to enemies. And this shows that this is kind of like the Seeker management for the card. It also reminds me a lot of like Mind Over Matter, but you get like more bang for your buck for more bucks, essentially. Like, it's more expensive. Well, yes, I agree that the upgrade does seem like a luxury. Yeah, I think that in the... when you're building with just like a core set and like 1 cycle, or like even 2 cycles, or even 3 cycles, you're going to be surprised at how quickly you're like, you know what, I think I kind of want to just make this card better when it comes to it, right? But I like that. One thing I really enjoy about this Through the Cracks is that it's this clue you control for Seeker. It's a little bit win more, but I think it is a very fun thing to explore. And I think that to make Seekers not have as much of a rise to power, it should be win more as opposed to just win, right? Like Rex Murphy, he came out right after Core Set. He has an ability that was just like win the game. It's not win more, it's win the game, right? But if something you have that scales with how many clues you do control, right? That is win more, and win more doesn't help you win, it just helps you win more when you're already winning, and I think it's a really cool area to explore to give Seeker powerful effects without inherently making them just more powerful, and I think that's really cool. But Joe would rather kill? Yeah, but Joe still might want to get away, right? Or someone else might want to get away, you know? So it's, read more of this, more like win more and more. I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying, Holy Helicopter. I'm not saying this card is win more. I'm saying this. The cards scaling with the clues you control, also like on Unbridled Knowledge, that is win more, because you're already winning the game when you have those clues, right? It's not like it's helping you find more clues. It's helping you take advantage of something you already have to do better when you're already doing good, right? I think the rogue is going to be... I don't think this is meant for rogues. I think that this is meant for... I mean, like, obviously this is going to be a plant to help whoever has the Seeker O2, and it could be the rogue, but I think that... I mean, it could be the Mystic. I still think the Mystic is going to be our Seeker, but I have nothing to base that on. Just my own hunch that I'm working. Which is nice to be back in the core set, both working a hunch and deduction. Happy to see both those here. But I think this is a nice card that gets the job done for the Seeker class, and it's going to be nice to have, especially with a limited collection. I think Joe Diamond would also play it, right? To work with it. That's a good analysis of the card as well. It's going to be at its worst after advancing an act and spending clues, which is also often when big enemies spawn that you want to evade. Yes, that is true, and I think that's a very fair read, but sometimes also it won't be that way. But I do think that that's like a good call for while this card probably won't live long once the card pool grows, due to the fact that there is a point where it becomes much, much worse. It's not consistent. I think this is every Seeker card. I think all the Seeker cards are spoiled. I think especially now with working a hunch and deduction, we now know that these are going to be the box. I think this is all the Seeker cards. All right, but we have two neutral cards to talk about here. The first one is Hand Crank Flashlight, which I actually think is a pretty hype card. This is a 1-cost neutral item, tool, asset. Takes up your hand slot. As an action, investigate book. You get +1 book for this test. If you succeed, you may discard Hand Crank Flashlight for your location to get -1 shroud until the end of the round. So this is essentially Knife, but for Flashlight. Very similar style effects. And I think this is actually a really nice tool. Obviously, it's unlikely that Flashlight is going to still be here, right? But I do think that this is a good replacement that is going to just be, well, not as good as Flashlight from the core set, is a good replacement while still having a very nice power level for it, right? Anything that gets clues is going to be much better than Knife anyway. Like, you don't even need to try that hard. You get, like, the exact same card. You get, like, the exact same card in the style of a fighting card and a clue card, and the clue card's always going to be better, right? Should have attached location then force discard cleaner. I would say that is not cleaner. I would say that actually would provide more memory issues. If after when? Yeah, it would. It would, Holly Helicopter. It would for that. A fight version of the Flashlight would be cool for in the fighter thing, like with like limited uses, like durability on it, right? I think that could be cool. I think that they should use durability as a use it should automatically discard when it's out, and there should be an investigator down the road that can like repair things, like maybe a new Wilson Richards that can repair durability on cards. Is the effect for all players? The effect is for all players. Your location gets -1 shroud until the end of the round. Like with Matchbox, which has proven to be a very good card. I think this is a very nice neutral card. And then we also have a new Perception, which let me go to DareBK's website and get the actual new version so you guys can see the writing on this. Keep scrolling. All right. New Perception. Mag Glass 3 and 4. I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, like, Magnifying Glass, I think is okay to stay because there's not a 5-book Seeker in the core set. I think Joe Diamond will actually want to use the other stuff more, which I think is a success. All right, New Perception. This one is also a modified reprint here. It is max, still commits for 2 book, max 1 committed per skill test. If this test is successful, the performing investigator draws 1 card. So this is changed from you draw 1 card to the performing investigator draws 1 card, which I think is actually a super hype change for it. And I think is going to be like the nice, this is just kind of what I'm going to do for Perception now going forward. Like when I'm playing Legacy, because you can choose the 2 once this officially comes out, I'm going to use this as like all my perceptions going forward. I think this is a really good change. And I think this is something that all of these skill cards should have had printed on them as is when they were first released. But yeah, I think that this is a nice card for its effect. But you need the card more than the other guy? Yeah, but if the other guy's getting a clue, that's good. But odds are I'm just going to use it for myself anyway. But in a pinch, like I think especially for like Guts and manual decks, I think that's really nice. But yeah, I think that this Perception is a nice change. And I like this one a lot more than the Laboratory Assistant because I think it makes sense. That's kind of the sticking point that I have with the Laboratory Assistant where I don't really understand why it's happening. And that's something that makes me be like, I don't get it, and maybe I won't ever get it, and maybe I will get it, but I wish I did get it. But this one I get it. So I think that modified reprint works really well. And honestly, if you don't like the art, 1, I don't blame you. 2, just play with your original Perceptions and just play with the text that you want to play with of the 2, right? Like this is like one of the easiest things to remember, right? That won't work, Regal Games, because Perception is still, no matter what, max 1 per. Yeah, you can't do that, but it is, yeah. So I think that, like, it doesn't matter too much. But I think this is a nice change. But, yeah, I'm going to just probably play with my original Perceptions for the time being. Okay. That is that. Those are all the cards that were revealed during Seeker Week, and we now have all of our Seeker cards spoiled. But more excitingly, Survivor Week is going to be starting right away. And when I mean right away, I mean right away, so get ready for that. I'm very excited to see all the Survivor cards. I'm a big Survivor gamer. I think Survivor is going to be very combat-focused for this next one, just due to the fact that Izzy has a gun. And I think that like this card is going to be insane. I think Survivor is going to be a really nice from this core set coming up, and the cards we got for them are pretty sweet. So you should keep your eyes again on the channel for that, and then all the other places. DareBK AncientEvils.com will likely have the schedule once it's up. You can also find it, I think, at ArkhamHorror.com. So that's really neat. Other than that, that is what we got here for. What we got here for this Seeker Roundup, Spoiler Roundup, but I'll be back very soon for our next Spoiler Roundup. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what cards you were excited about and what you think of Joe Diamond. I think he's, again, I respect the people who think he's dull and doesn't feel like Joe Diamond. While I don't personally agree, I think that that's a fair statement, but I'm very excited for Joe because he's very open and he's going to be very consistent, which is going to allow you to do both powerful things, stupid things, and fun things, which I think makes a very healthy investigator. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one. And as always, a GG's.